podcast. It's Matt. And today I thought that we talk about media and its subtle influence on everybody's everyday life. It's, I think that people walk around and it's a scenario where we're not as aware of how much influence it has on us. You ask a person why did they do a certain thing, they may not really fully understand it, but they'll stand on it to the point of sometimes they can get to the point where it's a situation where it might be a physical altercation. And I've kind of thought about that, like how did we get to this point of where that is now? Like how we get to this point of where we are, and how much that the powers that be, I'm always a conspiracy theorist type of person on the show, but kind of made it that way. Sell products, capitalism, stuff, So, I probably might want to start out with the aspect of the technology, our phones. Either your Apple or your Android. One or the other, you can't be both now. I like tech, I like both. Both of them have their little things that they have that's special on one and not the other. I like both, but just to say I'm an Android guy. I have an Android phone. I've been the Android person for my entire adult life for the most part. I have like an Apple Mini. I have an iPad. I've had Apple products, but I just always been with Android. My reasoning for it is more so, just because everything's on there. I think once they lock you into a brand, sometimes, especially with the tech with the phones, so they lock you in. You buy enough stuff on their Play stores and all that stuff. And in order for you to leave and go to the other side, you got to give up all that stuff. You got to give up your whatever, the games that you bought on the Play Store, the little Apple stuff that you got on Apple, whatever you bought is Apple specific. You got to leave it over there. It's an investment. So when you get into these phones, you get an iPhone, you're locked in. The little benefit that you get with the Androids is that, there's a lot of Android. There's a lot of them. You got the Pixel, you got the Samsung, you got the LGs, all of them are running some version of Android, and a lot of the stuff is cross. You can move it from here to there, and it kind of reminds me of back in the 90s when they had Mac or PC. People kind of was trying to, I'm a Mac, I'm a PC. But with the thing of the brands and how the media has a little bit of its push on us is even with, if I said that Android had all of these features and it's better for you, you change different phones that have Android and use all the, people will still stand on the Apple side. You'll be like, hey man, but the thing I've always had, this is a question for why Apple? And it's not to say Apple's terrible. I'm just saying why? Every time I ask a person that, try to convince me as an Android person, Apple, they can never. I mean, I know you got the tech people with the YouTube channels that know all the ins and outs, the better camera specs and all that stuff. They could probably have a good argument, but when you ask the average person why, they don't really have good arguments for it. I mean, the security, I guess, the software is, that's huge, but that's never the argument. A lot of these people are kind of just set on Apple. And this is where I get to the point where the media has this. Every time you see a celebrity, anytime you see an actor or somebody famous or anything, even if you're watching a TV show, most of these people are walking around with an iPhone. And I think this also goes to, people can take offense to it. I think it's also that too, because to say that you're being manipulated of some sort of sort. And I'm not saying it's not like that with Android. I think Android is the same scenario, of course. But for the most part, that where you can't make the argument, like I guess have the real conversation of why you do a thing. It kind of, I think you should start to think like maybe, I should really think like, why am I doing it? Yada yada, whatever it is, But every time you see on TV and media, popular shows and whatnot, or events and stuff, you see advertisements. Apple, you see a lot of advertisements for Android too, but I do feel as though Apple was more prominent with sports and athletes and actresses and actors. Their phone of choice is Apple. But if you ask a person, they probably wouldn't be able to really articulate. And I know there'd be people out there who say, I can tell you that the Apple phone got this, they got FaceTime, they got... Okay, I get it. I know it has certain features that only Apple can do, but then it's like, can't the other phones do something similar to that? If not, probably have more features, like, different things. You just can't have the argument because everybody's just saying it's better. It's just better. You're just mad because you're an Android person or whatever, That may be the truth. I don't know. But to me, it's just, I recently had this conversation with someone at work, and that's what it was. Everybody that walked in the room, we asked the question, and they were just, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to say. It was just like, yeah, I got an Apple, and it's just better. Or whatever. But the influence of media, I do feels like pushes that a lot. And to say that if you say, oh, you're influenced by whatever, it's kind of people take offense to it because it's like, no, I came to this conclusion on my own. I'm not a follower or whatever it is. And that's where it comes with, like, you're manipulative, like someone's manipulating you. No one likes to feel that way. But we're all being manipulated. And it's not like, they got like a little thing on TV. Remember the cartoons or whatever? They had the little spinny thing was hip. It's not like that. It's like little subtle things that people do. You just see people wearing it all the time. You see everybody walking around with it. And over time, like when you go to the store, you recognize it. You're like, hey, yeah, I've seen that before. And maybe you pick it up because you've seen it somewhere. You don't know what it, but you know more about it because you just, the logo. Maybe you've seen, Beyonce had it or something. I don't know. And you're like, yeah, that's that phone. I want that. You pick it up. You don't ask what the specs are. You don't ask what the camera do and all this other stuff. Some people do, not saying nobody. Because I do like the cameras on phones and stuff, so I like that stuff. But I kind of research phones sometimes before I get them. Not to say nobody's doing that, but I do feel a lot of times it's just like, what's the Apple phone that I can afford? Sometimes it's about what you can afford as well. So it's not like it's just, but I'm just saying, a lot of that little push of why you're moving to a certain way, it might be, I've seen it. I've just seen situations like that. And I have like probably a hot take, because also with this little debate I had with the people, I was like, I bet every black person here has an Apple phone. Everybody that came in the room, there was like two other guys that had an Android like me. They were black, but they was like, yeah, I got an Android. Oh, okay. But almost everybody else had an iPhone. And I'm like, I just noticed it. You know what I'm saying? I should have put money on it because I knew this was going to happen. But, I didn't. But either way, it's this influence. I've seen it. And then also it's just like other things. The way we dress, sometimes like the way you dress is influenced by me. You know what I'm saying? You get these subtle things that happen. You see people that talk about it, or it's on TV a lot. Maybe you're just interested into it. And, so it's not all just them trying to manipulate you to get a product or something. It is something that we don't recognize because I'm like, for instance, I would say the Crocs situation, moving from phones over to fashion a little bit. with Crocs. Like, those things are ugly. All right? I've never liked Crocs. I don't have a pair. I don't buy my daughter any Crocs or nothing like that because I don't understand it. Wear a pair of sandals if you want your feet to breathe or something. I don't know. Or flip-flops. Flip-flops, I'm okay with flip-flops. But these Crocs, no, I can't deal with the Crocs. But I'm like, when did these ugly looking shoes become like everybody's wearing a pair of Crocs? It's got like its own store and all this stuff, all these celebrities. That's what I'm saying. It's on TV. And that's why I like, because I talked to my nephew about this, and he was just like, no, I've been wearing Crocs before everybody was wearing Crocs. Now, that's just a lie. You ain't wearing Crocs before everybody else was wearing Crocs. That's impossible. You're telling me that you was wearing Crocs before Crocs were popular, and then somehow everybody else got on the same page as you just one day, like everybody's wearing them. Like, that's not true. Somebody, you was influenced by something you saw. I'm just saying. Ain't no way. Because I didn't even know where to buy these things at. At one point it wasn't everywhere. It was like at selected places. So you've seen it somewhere, and then you went out and bought you a pair, and then they got those little things you can stick on your Crocs and all that other crap. But, to me, I just felt like, when it comes to that, I think that, you got to think, like, what's going on with this? Like, where did this come about? And then it's just like they get you to get it, and then they start to hike these prices up. They start to, do things, and you'll just go out and get it. You don't even question why you're doing it. Like, and I've always kind of felt this way a little bit, like the herd mentality situation. Saying we get to these things where somebody will do something, and you'll see it everywhere. It's a trend, like one of those things that you see on TikTok. Someone's doing a dance, and now everybody's doing that dance. Or a song starts playing, and now you hear the song all the time. It's like, and I'm pretty sure there's a study that's happened. They know that it's effective. And I think that, we don't never question it. Never really say like, hey man, could they be using this in a way that benefits them? Like I said, I'm the conspiracy guy. I'm not all the way conspiracy, but I do question things like that. Like the ideas that people have. Is it really your idea? Are you thinking for yourself? You know what I'm saying? Are these things something that you sat down and thought about, you've done your research about, to the point where you came up with that conclusion yourself? Or is it that it's more so influenced by something that you've seen in passing, or you've seen over and over again, until the point where now you start to say it, but you're not aware where it came from? I just want everybody to somewhat get to a point where we think for ourselves. And I think, for the most part, we do think for ourselves. But I think that there is a lot that goes into some of the things that we do. We're not always aware of why we do them. That's all. That's the only thing that, somewhat bothers me sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say I'm not guilty of it. You know what I'm saying? Because I like tech. Like I said, I like the new technology that comes out. I like, even the way I'm dressed right now. Like, it's come from somewhere. But I do feel is that once you're aware, I just want people to be aware of things. Because then you can do that stuff. You dip and dabble into different things, and like, okay, I know what, the consequences of whatever it is. That's, you've done your research to make sure what you're doing is just genuine you, instead of just following something, a trend or a fad. Unfortunately, this really affects us at the lower you are in society. I don't want to say demographics, ethnicities, and stuff like that, but it's just the lower you are in society, we're more manipulative. We're able to, it seems like they're able to manipulate us. And so for me, I just want everybody to just do your research. Let's look around and start moving a little bit more according to what we want to do, not by something that, you're just following, especially for the younger folk. I mean, I think that they're probably more influenced by that stuff. And just don't follow the crowd. Don't be a victim of peer pressure. But yeah, I do see it. I do see it a lot. With the phones, of course, you got the Apple, you got the Android situation. You got the Xbox or are you PlayStation fan? But I feel like if you just genuinely like a thing, it shouldn't matter where it's at. If it does, it works for you, in a sense of where it's just the best value that you can get. But I think that it's just a thing I feel like they put on us because, it's a way to get you out to buy things. The term keeping up with the Joneses. Hey man, if you wear these shoes, then you got money. The girls love you if you wear this type of stuff. Or oh, this car right here is the best thing for safety for your children, or whatever, and they'll have whatever your favorite celebrity is, flavor of the week, advertising it. You go out and buy it. And you don't know, you're just not fully aware like the circumstances of what made you get to that point. But I do feel like, with us, it's like if we want the woman, we want this girl, we're more likely to try to dress her to impress. We're going to get the thing that the girl likes so that they like us. Vice versa, women will put on makeup and different things to get the attention of guys. And so that's why the makeup industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. That's why the sneaker industry is a multi-billion-dollar company. That's why all of these major corporations are multi-billion-dollar companies, sometimes trillion-dollar companies when it comes to the phones. Google, Android, and Apple with the Apple phones. So we're making all of these people super rich off of the things that we think make us special or important. These things are not realistic things. I think so. That's all. I just thought that I come on here and just question. You know what I'm saying? Like, and maybe I might be wrong. Maybe I'm saying something that people don't agree with. Maybe I'm just too conspiracy. I'm just into this too conspiracy. Because I'm too into that. Thinking everybody's out to get you. But I do feel they're not out to get you, but they're out to get your money though, for sure. For sure. Trying to get your money. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I think we should start questioning things while you're doing things, while you're into a certain thing. Of course, entertainment's entertainment, But, don't spend your money trying to keep up with people. Save your money. You know what I'm saying? It's always good to have nice things. It's always good to get things to make you feel good. I'm not saying don't go out and do. That's what you always get is somebody that feels that I'm saying like, oh, don't buy nothing. Stay in the house and don't do that. I'm not saying all that. I'm just saying be more aware. And because us people, we look out for each other. These people are getting rich off the backs of us. So I feel like once we're aware, we can kind of make better decisions in our purchasing and how we raise our children as well, because I feel like also it trickles down to them. When I was young, we was poor. We was really poor. We was on the streets sometimes. We was really poor, and I remember my mom used to always get us like Payless. I don't even know if Payless still exists, but Payless, like I don't know. The people that don't know about Payless, it's like a cheap store. You don't got no name. There's no Nike checks on Payless. There's nothing. There's no brand names at Payless. And then you would go to school, and kids would tease you because you got Payless on. You used to call them Bobos? Yeah, Bobos. Bobos. Yeah. You used to always joke about having the Bobos. And then you get picked on, and you're like, I don't want to wear Bobos no more, Mama. I want some Nikes. And they say, oh, Nikes cost too much, And then you be like, well, I'm getting picked on at school. And she say, shut up and go to school. Nothing she could do because you don't know that your mom ain't really got that type of money. Yeah, it's a lot of us. So $50 per kid, that starts to get a little expensive, even in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? But it trickles down because kids get picked on because they ain't wearing the right clothes and they're not, dressed appropriately the way the kids think that, they should be dressed. And then when you get older, you have kids and you don't want them to have that same feeling when they go to school. So what you do, you start buying them all the name brand clothes and you're not in the right position. And I actually, now that I'm older, I'm thinking like, man, we lived in a, lower income area. Those kids, parents probably couldn't afford it either. You know what I'm saying? And they would come to school and tease us about wearing Bobos, but they probably was going back to the projects. If I was smart enough, I would have been like, hey, man, your outfit costs more than your whole rent, your mom's rent, so something. I would have had something more clever to say, because nowadays I'm like, that's where we are. But we try to keep up with the Joneses because we feel like these things make us more important, and it doesn't. It doesn't make you more important at all. And if we trickle that down to our children and they feel as though they have to keep up, then it keeps us in a position of where we can never raise above where we came from. So we got to be able to get out of our situations. And if we're spending money just to keep up with what the media is saying, or not saying it, just like the rappers or the singers or people that you like are saying it's popular or you should have, then we bog ourselves down with stuff that really shouldn't mean that much. I mean, now they put a lot of value on this stuff, but it shouldn't mean that much. So I feel like this type of information, I just want to put this out there. You can like your brands and your stuff, you like the things you like, but just be aware that it doesn't make or break you. It doesn't mean that you're special because you can afford it or nothing like that, And maybe we should take that money and probably reinvest it into our family and our communities and things like that. So, I just thought I'd bring that up, Maybe, just see how, what your perspective is on it. Do you agree? Do you feel like, no, I've always been my own person. Now, those people that wear those little crazy stuff, like, they got they wearing some really crazy stuff. Like, I'm saying that, say, look, he's wearing crazy. He probably following himself. That person that wear, he put on, I don't know. Just what I'm talking about. They dress different than everybody. That person stands out. I think that those people are thinking for themselves. They don't care about what other, still, you can do what you want. I'm just, but that person, they probably are following. They ain't following them. Probably following themselves. They thought it was nice, put that on, and that's what they did. Be that person. But I don't know if it's just me. I'm saying I just thought I'd put it out there that I do see the influence that media has on us and how it does trickle down to the next generation. So, I thought I'd just give you one of these little short videos and see what the public says. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just talking, I'm ranting. Maybe it isn't hard to stay on topics. But yeah, but that'll wrap it up for today. I just wanted to put that out there, give you a little short, video in between the other bigger videos with Jeremiah and everybody that comes on. But I appreciate the support. If you like this video, like and subscribe. Leave a comment. I like to comment. I do interact with people in the comments too. So don't be afraid to comment, even if it's not positive. I don't take anything personal. So just if you want to comment, put in the comments. Subscribe for sure, because we definitely need the help. That we love to help and appreciate it if you can like us. But that'll be it for today. See you at the next M.I.C.S podcast.